Hey, it's your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. Focusing in on codependent traits, codependent tendencies as it relates to adapting to a covert narcissist or an overt narcissist, or even a psychopathic individual, a personality character disordered individual in your life. Perhaps the intimate relationship, the person you're married to or dating or have dated. And the codependent tendencies arrive really, I would say, they enter into the relationship and manifest originally as sort of a real, I want to say, excessive neediness, or, a really desire to please somebody, make them happy, and coming from that viewpoint versus one of self-esteem and security. So the codependent tendency really is derived from feeling really at a root that you're missing something, you're lacking something, there's something you're ashamed about, and that you essentially need this other person to become whole. So it's that sort of inner sort of inferiority, or a sense of that, even operating at an unconscious level, that tends to produce what we call these codependent tendencies, and then allow you to be attracted to someone who will be a violator, a perpetrator, or someone who will essentially take advantage of you, or really not be really right for you or really fulfilling for you. In other words, it puts you in a compromised position or a compromised sort of sense of denial, or essentially what can become a feeling of being shut down or not living your own life, or feeling like a zombie, where in essence you've become numbed out to your own needs. You're just satisfying others, and there's nothing really in it for you. So people often feel like they have to just go through the motions, or they just feel like they're shut down and they're really not active in their own lives. So it's almost like a sacrificing of destiny that creates really the aftermath of codependent tendencies. So codependency can be displayed and manifest in a number of different ways. For one, and generally, it's always doing way too much for others. It's over obligating yourself. It is really living and disconnected from what is a realistic, healthy boundary, and the ability to say no, the ability to feel like you don't have to shower people with all sorts of gifts, all sorts of items, all sorts of compliments, all sorts of activities and behaviors where, you're taking care of them to the lack of really taking care of yourself. So, and then this tendency then creates an inability for codependents in this situation. It's difficult and uncomfortable for them to receive, which means receive compliments, receive love, receive support from the universe in very important and spiritual ways. So, these codependent tendencies can can really arrive at the beginning of the relationship and then become more pronounced with time if they're not corrected. So, yes, they can be corrected. Just realizing that codependency oftentimes is a perfect match with someone who is going to take advantage of you because it's putting you in that role that is familiar to you. So if this started for you in childhood, if you had parents who were narcissistic in nature, who, were maybe harshly critical, harshly judgmental, or who had scapegoated you, it created really this sort of I am less than sort of mindset, or sort of familiar memory. So you took this familiar memory with you into other relationships. You brought this with you, to be attracted to them, and then so this is what you're used to doing. And even though you knew that there was something missing, it's all that you knew. And so you had perpetuated down this path. But then, really in a person's adult life, they arrive at a place where the pain is so great that, they know that they have to tune in to themselves and really make some personal changes. Either the development of an illness, the development of a lot of relationship spats, financial issues, family, raising the family on equal term issues. I mean, usually that's really what presents in the psychological community, is that there's a breakdown of communication. People aren't happy. They're just going in all directions. There's a lot of chaos, crazy making. So the codependency, oftentimes what people feel is their contribution, or perhaps how they're causing or enabling the other, eventually somebody wants to then put an end or change their codependent style, their tendencies. They want to kind of reprogram themselves. They want to redirect their life in one of empowerment and strength and coming from their true self, so they're not always in this sort of unhappiness. So yes, this can be done, and I really believe very much in the quantum level of healing, which is learning to disconnect and really sort of separate oneself from the people and that whole energy source that got you put in that situation in the first place. Which means, you're arriving at the fact of the violations. You're acknowledging the fact of these violations that took place in life and how it set up that foundation, but then realizing that that is really just a memory. That is essentially what has become implanted in you because it's just been repeated over and over and over. So realize that is becomes essentially an unconscious sort of drive for you, reacting, feeling less than, feeling inferior to, feeling like you can only be a supply source, and not feeling whole and integrity in your own right. So once you identify that those thoughts, behaviors, attitudes, mindset, and beliefs are erroneous and false in nature, you can then begin to arrive in a state of present knowing and awareness, and really living more to be conditioned by the future. And the future meaning, what you truly want, desire, and deem true for yourself versus being conditioned by the past. So the past will continue to condition you or program you if you allow it to happen. If you allow yourself to, live in that same codependent mindset. And so to remove those, you need to identify the fact that those are erroneous in nature and not in your best interest, and really not allowing you to live your truth and your destiny. And so if you're able to identify this and then relieve yourself of that denial and saying, you know what, I am better than that. I do deserve better. I am magnificent. I embrace my truth. I am whole. I am integrity, and I am honesty, and I'm no longer living the lie. And you embrace your I am statements in your divine power, which basically then becomes really strong in your solar plexus, where you really get into that, this is me. I mean, this is what I want, and I'm now going after it. And I'm now going to be, working on myself. I'm now getting myself with groups of people who don't treat me so harshly. I'm now surrounding myself with people who get me, who understand me, and I can truly feel safe and happy and expand myself and enlarge my talents, enlarge my interests, and really live that life and take massive action there. You then become conditioned by the future versus conditioned by the past. So as you do that and practice that, then the past harms of the past begin to fade away, and as Dr. Joe Dispenza describes, you're basically pruning the old synapses within the brain, and you're creating new neural pathways and new neural peptides in the body, which is learning and which is living to be conditioned by the future, and you're living by a vision of who you truly want to be, who you truly want to become, experience, have, and develop in terms of relationships as well as material things in your future. And that is the drive, and that is where your true healing is going to take place in the quantum model. Peace and harmony with you here today. I hope these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.